Maskani, everyone. This is Professor Rahh, Professor Emeritus, California State University, Long Beach, where I taught for 34 years, Africana Studies Department, along with a retired professor from Compton Community College, where I taught psychology, history, and ethnic study. Former city councilman for the city of Compton, former Compton College Board of Trustee, and former Compton Unified School District Board of Trustees. We are honored to have you listening into this presentation. We have a very exciting program. Before I get into that, I want to say about my co-host, Joe Hembrick, a longtime education administrator and teacher for the Compton Unified School District, as well as Linwood Unified. He also is a historian in which he researches and documents and discusses the ancient history of our spirituality and cultural apparatus that pulled us up out of the way in which and contributed to us building great civilizations, as well as various philosophies and ideologies that values that we try to teach our people today. I want to welcome also Brother Rashaki Maskani, who is the person that created this platform called Community Education Network, in which we discuss critical issues facing Black people, particularly African Americans or Black people, or worldwide Black community, for the purpose of education and building consciousness, awareness, and networking. That's a very important thing. We want to network. We welcome input from various people with their perspectives. And we're on every Wednesday, the Community Education Network program at 6 o'clock. The host would be Rashaki Maskani. And every Tuesday, Conscious Corner, where it's myself and co-host Joe Hembrick. We also have a special guest today, a brother, deep thinker, deep philosopher, deep person with regard to discussion. We're going to be discussing spirituality in the family, Black family, or just spirituality, period. Brother Sharara has a unique and very profound perspective of spirituality, dealing with nature and dealing with our spirituality from a standpoint that is very unique, and he's going to discuss it. But before we get started, I want Brother Sharara to tell us a little bit about himself, his background, and who he is, so that you know who is putting this out. Brother Sharara?
Yes, greetings, Brother Rahh and my brother Rashaki. It is an honor to be here on this forum, addressing this very sensitive topic of religion, spirituality, and so forth, which is a topic that many people seem to shy away from. And it is a topic, just like politics is a topic that affects each and everyone's life, nationally and internationally, globally. And it seems we don't want to speak on those things in these modern times, My name is Chiwara Ochosi. I am originally entered into this space of life through Jamaica, but I've been a world traveler since I was 7 and a half, going on 8. Traveled to the UK, traveled to the United States. Most of my time has been spent in the United States. I attended several, schools and learned quite a bit. I'm not degreed in anything as recognized by anyone. I don't claim to be an expert on any particular subject or topic. Most of what I speak is in the form of insight. This insight I receive from the sweat equity of 68 years, and my physical work and practice within those 68 years, which is my physical work and practice is being a man, being a husband, and being a father, and the experience that came with all of that, the different things I had to do to find what many people would refer to as God or understanding or wisdom. And so, I speak from that vantage point. Um, and that's where I'll be speaking from. I'm a singer-songwriter. My genre is liberation music, geared towards neo reggae, alternative reggae. Um, I'm a Black nationalist. I believe in race first. Uh, so, basically that's it. You know what I mean? What I speak is from the heart. I embrace honesty. I revere truth. And this is the walk and the way and the practice that would be the life of Chihuahua or Chose. So I'm very pleased to be here, brother.
Yeah.
Rahh.
Excellent presentation of your background and your experiences. And being a world traveler, you learn a lot. Being from Jamaica, you learn a lot, more than what schools can teach you. Being a father, a husband, there's no way to top that form of education when it's personal experience and life living experiences. But Brother Shirara, when we left, we was talking about nature and the spirit of the people, which sometimes referred to as nature, which is in God. Could you go over those points that you were making last time we were talking, the one in which where you discuss a spirituality that is non-organized religion,
Yes.
not the major Western religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam.
Yes.
Or any others, Santiera, or Yoruba, or, the various religions of the world. But go ahead, brother. Organized religion.
Yes. My memory serves me well. That's a great point to start at. I was asked about religion, and I was pointing out from what my religion is directly is the religion of life. And so this particular religion is not one on record, or recognized as anything as what we know religion to be, which is, organized religion. When we talk about like Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, and they have others too, like Baha'i faith, Zoroastrianism, and so on. The religion of life is simply life. And I say that because life is the only thing that we do religiously. True is the only true religion because it never stops. We are always in church because we're always in life. We're always alive. And in the Christian scripture, dogma, it teaches that God teaches us to worship in spirit and in truth, and to pray without ceasing. Praying without ceasing means there's no beginning or end to the prayer. And so these things of the different dogmas, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, and Buddhism, agrees with my religion. But not all of them, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and Hinduism, Buddhism, may agree with the religion of life itself, because it's not based on their practice, it's not based on their culture. And so that's where you said we need to have a part two on that, so that we can elaborate. I wanted to start with Nina Simone. Nina Simone said, religion is merely a cultural understanding of the supernatural. That's why Arabs are Muslims, Chinese are Buddhists, Indians are Hinduists, and Europeans are Christians. Only Africans search for God outside of their culture. Now, to tell you the truth, brother, that statement from Nina Simone came to me today. And this is when I speak of our religion being life. This is how it works. The question that came to me from reading that was, because it referred to the Africans searching for God outside of their culture. So religion is merely a cultural understanding of the supernatural or the spiritual. That's why Arabs are Muslims and so on. So we're talking about a cultural thing again. Once again, like part one, I mentioned culture because out of life comes culture. Culture is born out of life. And then out of culture, traditions are born. And so these are how you get Muslims.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
These different cultures and their different traditions. And they're seeking for that part of themselves that is infallible, that part that we call God. So for the Africans, the question to me was, well, why are the Africans seeking for God outside of their culture? Is it because in their culture there is no God? Or is it because they have some kind of a curiosity? Well, I know that every indigenous person or culture that is of this earth, we cannot say they are of the earth and they have no land, like what these Jewish people are trying to let the world believe, that here it is, they are a people on the earth with no land. That makes no sense, because every culture comes with that, because that's the law of creation. So if they have no land, it must not be indigenous to the earth. I would have to reject the fact or the statement that Africans don't have a culture or don't have a religion or a God, Okay. So as I'm researching this energy, and remember, I research from within, so I don't really research the outside things come and confirm my research. So when I go and I look again, I discover that the Africans, we never had no God. It wasn't like that. It wasn't God like that. Like we know today, like how the world has been duped into this God concept, And so what we worshipped and we revered and we honored and respected life. Brother Rashaki had a gentleman on there wrote a book. I forget his name, Rashaki. If you can remind me, the brother that wrote the book that spoke about the meteor that
Jabal.
Excuse me?
Assad Jabal.
Yes, that brother there. And what it was with the Gnostics. So therefore, this is what the Africans had, that connection with creation, that connection with life. And having that connection, they push towards progress and the creation of value. This is why we were able to achieve such phenomenal development as a culture on the planet, and be able to civilize the entire planet of humanity because of that. So this is my position, that we as African people, as Black people, our religion is life. And this is why all other religions we're able to and are attracted to it. And the reason why we're basically attracted to it today is because of, everybody knows the history, how we were stripped of everything down to the marrow of our bones. And so, we're going to be naturally gravitating towards anything pertaining to God. Of all the religions, the oldest is because it says, there's five religions: the Judaism, Christianity, Islam, the main religions anyway. They call them the big five: Hinduism, Buddhism, and the oldest of them all, according to there's much older than Hinduism, but Sanskrit, Hinduism, is amongst the five, is the oldest out of the five. And then again, you have to understand, we do know and recognize. I was born in a Christian family. I was christened in the Church of God, and my father was a Seventh-day Adventist, so we went to church religiously. I've never seen my father do anything, like corrupt. He always taught us God. I've never seen him read any other book but the Bible. What I know of him is that he couldn't read and he couldn't write. My mother taught him how to read and write. But he was a well-kept man, in terms of how he keeps himself. How he cared for himself and whatnot. I respect my father greatly, although I struggled to understand him as I was growing up. It wasn't until, I became a man and he had passed on and everything, I began in my own tradition to realize how so much of the things he taught me or he showed me without teaching me that has kept me, So I believe and I sincerely know that the religion that we are to serve is life itself. And to progress in that, honesty is necessary. It has to be a true religion. What we do understand about the current religions that are on the earth is that they don't really encourage you to think for yourself. They don't really encourage you to allow life to reveal itself to you. It's handed down, and it no matter what it is. And when you check the history of these religions, it's sullied in blood and aggression. So these are some of the things I observe as a young man coming up, teenager, from 8 years old coming on up in church. And things were very confusing for me because I didn't understand this God and how these people were carrying on. It was a mystery to me. Sometimes I was afraid because it didn't seem like the people were behaving rational, But as I grew and became autonomous, and I began to understand that it's about understanding yourself and understanding and walking a particular path. And so this is why I say life is the true religion of man. And I use that word religion very carefully, very carefully, because life is not really a religion as defined as to what the religion is defined as, because this religion is defined as a belief in a God or gods and the activities that are connected with this belief. These activities is like prayer or worshiping in a building, such as a church or temple or synagogue and such forth, or mosque. And I'll come to find out that true religion doesn't require any of those things. Even Christ, which is the main figure in religion, he never preached or teached in a church, a temple, a synagogue, or anything. And when he did go into one, he went in there to set the record straight. And when he did go into the second time, he went there to identify the hypocrisy that was happening in those places. Even to this day, those hypocrisies are still going on. So this is what we have to understand as a people, and I'm speaking directly as Black people. We have to understand that, and we have to know and have the courage as divine beings to correct ourselves. Where we spend too many time trying to correct the society, trying to correct the institutions, trying to correct the other people. And we should spend more time correcting ourselves.
Teach.
So this is what our religion teaches us, that it's not about the things around us, because the things around us are the illusion. And let me give you an example of what I'm talking about when I say the illusion. For instance, you have a question. And for every question you have, there's an answer. Because of the question, the answer is born. That means there is no question that comes up that does not come with an answer. And for every answer that exists, it exists for a particular question. So the two of them work together. You can't have a question without an answer, or now an answer without a question. However, it is churches, temples, synagogues, mosques, world religions now. We talked the 7 religions that I mentioned earlier. They are born either out of the questions or they're born out of the answers. They're a byproduct of questions or a byproduct of answers. What I've discovered in the religion of life is those two, the question and the answers, are the illusion. Is if you were to nullify the question, in other words, ask no question. If you ask no question, then no answer would exist. And if no answer exists, then no question exists. So when you ask yourself this simple question, if answers and questions were eradicated, like if politics and bureaucracies were eliminated, what would you have? You would notice and come to the realization that the source of the question and the source of the answer is you. You're asking the questions and you're providing the answer. So when you cease to ask questions and answers, you realize that you're the life. And when you look through the questions and through the answers, because that's the illusion, that's the way things appear, as a question and appear as an answer. You look through that, what you begin to see and you could come realize is an inexhaustible, eternal, everlasting, and immortal consciousness, which is bliss. There's no pain, there's no suffering, there's none of that, because there's no questions and there are no answers. We can also equate that to, there's within the Kemetic teachings, where your heart is weighed on a scale, weighed up against a feather. If your heart stays balanced with the feather, then you are able to proceed forward into the next realm of your immortal existence. If you have to ask a question, then you're out. You're not in balance.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, you cannot go. You have more work to do. You know, I don't know much about the spirituality, the teachers of Kemet. I am aware of the Medunetta and such, and hieroglyphs and whatnot. You know, I know things, but I'm not a specialist in anything more than I can say I'm a specialist in contemplation. I do contemplate, you know, and I do meditate, but not like what people think meditation is, sitting down and, you know, and just shutting out the world and all that. You know, it's not really that. You know, it is something more. It's more simple than that. You know, meditation could simply be acceptance and so forth. You know,
let me ask you a couple questions.
yes.
And first of all, I appreciate what you said, if I understand correctly. Why do you think the topic of people's religions is so divisive?
Because it's not pure and it's not honest. Because when you're going to speak about anything, not just religion, anything within my religion, which is called life, you must be pure. You must be true. You must be honest. You know, it's not about being perfect. You understand? It's about being true and honest.
Okay, another quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a difference between church, mosques, synagogues, temples, and religion? The functions, you know, practicality?
These are all religions, and their differences lies in their belief. They believe differently. They pray differently. They worship differently. Their buildings are differently. There's, like, I would say that's the exoteric aspect of what they do. But there are no difference in the essence of what they are.
So when you say religion is life, how do you define life? I mean, because see, when organized worship is organized worship. So are you saying that people should worship life? That's what religion is.
They worship life whether they want to or not. That's the point. That's the whole point. That they worship life whether they want to or not, because life is like that. And if they don't worship life, they're still worshiping life. And if they worship life, they're worshiping life. So even if they don't see themselves as worshiping life, and they just worshiping, let's say, Allah, or they're worshiping Yahweh, or they're worshiping Jesus Christ, they feel comfortable that way. And life allows them to do this. So if they had no life, they would have no religion. That's number one. Life came before religion. So this is why I've chosen life to be my religion. I get my teaching directly from life. Now, when you do that, everything is absolutely different.
So let me give you real quick, and then you can go into your point.
Yes.
So you're saying there's no need for churches, mosques, temples, and none of that?
No. And the reason for that is because your body, your physical body is the temple. Your physical body and life is the minister. But you have to have faith, and you have to have courage, and you have to have honesty. You have to have love. You have to have truth. How is it that they say God that made everything, and then nothing that is made up was not made by God? And they say God, this God is love. And then they say only the truth will make you free. So then if if this God is everything and there's nothing that is anything that is not of God, then the truth, as well as God being love, God is also the truth. See, so the truth shall make you free.
Okay.
Now, I understand I'm not speaking from a theologian standpoint. Theologians have been spoon-fed information and they regurgitate it to the masses of people because they identify the masses of people as innocent. Now, we're talking about how these major religions work. They're not working from the standpoint of life in its purest form. Because life in its purest form says to you, says, be true, be honest, be your brother's keeper, live in love. You know, this is the walk. It's not a worship, it's a walk. In life, you have to live the religion of life. You cannot, it's not about preaching. It's not about propagating. Your life becomes the manifestation of your religion. It's not about teaching people anything. It's not about rejecting. It's not about looking at, oh, God ain't over there. God, oh no, your religion ain't right, or your God ain't right. It's not about none of that, because life says you can worship it in any way, shape, or form that you see fit. And what would be wrong is if I try to force my beliefs or consciousness upon you.
Well, brother, go ahead, Rashaki.
Okay, so Brother Tarara, you were saying, so can what you were saying about religion as far as life is the religion. And you said either you worshiping it and you're practicing the religion, or you're not worshiping and you still are practicing religion. Can you equate that to the conscious and the unconsciousness of self? Because the way I'm interpreting that is either you're aware of that you're practicing a religion, or you're not aware.
Yes, now, yes,
it's happening.
Yeah, it's happening whether you know it or not.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Now,
I was trying to interpret that.
Yes, whether you know it or not, it's happening.
That's definitely consciousness and unconsciousness. And then also, that's what I'm going to be writing about when it comes to self-evaluation. So,
okay, so now remember, unconsciousness in the religion of life doesn't mean you're not conscious.
Yeah, but it's you're not aware of that you are
aware.
You're not aware that you are aware. You're just not paying attention to it. That's what I call the unconscious.
Now, another thing that I want to point out that was revealed to me very recently also about God. Now, when I use the word God, I'm using it very broadly. You know, very broadly, because all religions and all beliefs revere God very high. You know, I mean, we'll go to war over our gods. You know what I'm saying? And history shows that many have gone to war in the name of their God and have slaughtered one another, and at times slaughtered their own people in because of this God thing that they all have. And what I discovered as I walk this walk that I walk, pertaining to God now, not to anybody's particular God. So I don't want anyone to be offended by what I'm about to say. I want to make that very clear. This is my walk and what God is showing me about God's self. God told me that God don't care. God said, I don't care. God it's almost like it's not possible for God to care, because if God was to care, the wicked man would not exist. because God would care about the damages that the wicked man has done and he's doing to this day. The evil, the mischievous man. When Pilate said to Christ, "Do you know who I am and what I can do to you?" Christ said to him, "You can only do to me what my Father allows you to do," referring to God, the Father. The main message of Christ was to let us turn to the Father. Who is the Father? The Father is the creator of life. The Father is life. If God, the creator, cared like how we talk about caring, the righteous man, that's all there would be on earth is righteousness, period. But God cannot afford to care because God has to serve. That's what God does. That is the main character of God, is to serve. And in order to serve, God has to have, God's character have to be threefold. Omnipotent, which is all-knowing, omnipotent, and omnipresent. God cannot afford to care. So what God has does within the wisdom of God now, created man in what? The image and the likeness after the kind, meaning the different forms of God. And then in that form was placed a brain, which had access to the mind of God. This brain is what is under attack today in today's world through religion. What we know as religion, anyway, what the world has taught us what religion is. Now, inside of that being, speaking of the chromosomes and the DNA and such, was instilled a quality. This quality is called care. So the Creator, God Almighty, knew that it would not be in the best interest of God, the original, to care, because then he would be going against itself when he says, whatever a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And whatever you desire in your heart, that you shall receive. So if God began to care, God couldn't fulfill the words. And God also says in that same scripture that heaven and earth shall pass away before one of my word or law shall pass away. So God, in so wise, he created us and said, I need you to care. And then God began to teach us by sending people like the gurus and the sages and the shamans and all of the great men that walked the path and received the knowledge and the wisdom and the understanding from life itself, from directly from God. That's why Christ gave the people the Lord's Prayer, so they would stop following the false religions of sacrificing innocent animals and burning all these offerings to life to solve their problems. Christ came and he changed everything. And that's based upon the Christian religion. And other religions will confirm what I'm saying in terms of, the context in which I'm speaking. So now, once we have care embedded in our DNA and our chromosomes, this is what happens. The moment we begin to care, a seed begins to grow. That seed is called hope. Hope begins to germinate. And so the more we care, is the more hope grows. And the more of us care, is the more hope grows, until chaos and unrighteousness and confusion and illness begins to fade away. Why these things begin to fade away? Because we begin to progress. We begin to create like the original creator created. We begin to create value. And this value begin to become the solutions to our problems, the problems of life, the problems that we encounter in life. This solution begins to develop. This is what we call industrial revolutions. That's what they call in today's world. First industrial revolution, second industrial revolution, and so on and so forth. Just as the brother wrote the book, spoke of, it took about 1,000 years before the mutations from the meteor shower began to surface. And so as this hope grows, this is within the Black people I'm speaking now, because we are the people of life. We're the people that generated the life force energy and brought everything to the surface. At some point, what happened is our development, our progress was arrested. We talking about now, there was a band back in the 70s called, I think 70s or 80s, called Arrested Development. And there's a whole piece on arrested, what it is, you know, what arrested development mean. It's actually a study done on arrested development, what happens when your development is arrested. And that's what happened to our people, essentially. We got arrested, as the brother said, you know, the eunustics had to resort to other forms in order to survive. And out of it came the agnostics, out of that came religion and all of this, and concepts, because the culture began to break down, because the traditions began to deteriorate. When tradition begins to deteriorate without a necessary reason, then culture begins to rot. Culture begins to dissipate. Culture begins to divert rather than convert. You know, it's a divergence versus convergence. You see, and they begin to divert until it's broken up. The culture is broken up, and then what we have is alterations. What we have is these, and what we're experiencing today. When we Black people, Black folks, African people, which is a misnomer. The word Africa is a misnomer. The Commission people, and even that, there's a more ancient names than that to describe us. We are the ones that originated the reality, the truths of life. But if you look at us today, ain't there one of us could build a pyramid. You know? Not one of us could build a pyramid. And that's because our development was arrested. And the generations came, and the effects of this arrest of our development and the systematic destruction of our traditions, which led to the constant deterioration of our culture. We are the byproduct now of this onslaught. But
Rahh,
yes.
can I ask Professor Rahh something right quick?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Professor Rahh, in what he was describing, some of the information seemed like it kind of parallel with what you be talking about sometime when we're, you know how brother doctor come on and said, you know, nothing is going to change. Now the Kaiwita philosophy that you are a part of with Dr. Karanga, Mulana Karanga, is some of what Charara is talking about, do it mirror some of that?
Well, not really, because Shura is dealing with life, and that life is the basis of all understanding. Living it and how you live it illustrates your worship. And there's no need for churches, mosques, synagogues, temples, and things of this nature. Whereas organized religion is, you know, difference between churches are organized for the purpose of worshiping with your religion, mosques for Muslims, temples for Hindus and Buddhists, and synagogues for the Jewish. But there are other religions, you know, Santiera, a bunch of them, Yoruba, and they all, you know, have their own functions as Sharara is saying. But he's saying there's no need for all of that.
Well, I was kind of getting at on what the Kawiya philosophy though.
Is the best of
So
it's culture. Yeah, it's a culture. It's cultural perspective of that. It's the best of best of African thought and practice, and ongoing sentences in exchange with the world. You know, whereas you take the best of African people's thoughts and practices, and you consolidate them and you use them to develop your principles and values by which you use for your life. What I'm getting from Shahira, he's dealing with a spiritual perspective that culture is, as Nina Simone said, the worship or the understanding of a supernatural being. Many people in Kawaida, you can be any religion you want. We believe in unity with diversity and unity without uniformity. Meaning diversity, you can have, whatever your thoughts, as long as they're principled and they make you a better person. And you're constantly discussing, presenting yourself in that manner. And then unity without uniformity. You don't have to be in the same religion. You don't have to wear the same clothes. You don't have to do 100 Abaniganis or 16 Assalamu Alaikums and practice a principle that comes from your religion. But what I'm getting from Sharara is that life is your religion, and that all these organized things are just divisiveness, and they're exploited from the standpoint that they all try to impose their religion directly or indirectly on you for growth and economic power and political power. Is that correct, Sharara?
Yes, it is. It is to an extent, but it's cultural. It's cultural. What has happened though, it wasn't like that before. See, because what I'm saying okay, when Muhammad came and was speaking of Islam, there were Bedouin people. There were Bedouins, nomadic, and they had many different forms of beliefs and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
This is according to the Islamic culture, or these, the Arabs, which were the Bedouins.
But a lot of Arabs aren't Muslim.
I know that, but what I'm saying, I'm speaking specifically of those who are.
Okay.
Because it came out of the Arab culture, as far as I understand, because Bilal is the first one that did the call to prayer and so on and so forth, and he was an African in Ethiopia, So it's not about so much, it's the consciousness, it's the consciousness that is born. Like Christ is a consciousness that is born. But here comes a Caucasian, who says now, they want to put that consciousness in an individual. To the people in which Christ was revealed through, that was kind of strange to them, and that was forbidden. Because we understood that Christ is embodied throughout all of life. You understand? So it's not the culture, because culture is necessary. And being in the religion of life does not mean that it's not necessary to have a cultural perspective or cultural practices, because that's all contained within life. And without life, those cultural understanding, cultural perspective would not even exist. Life is the fundamental foundation for all things. Life is the most precious thing known to man. There's nothing more precious than life. Nothing. You see, so when one studies life, we realize that differences, like you say, unity, you mentioned diversity. Could you correct me? Can you correct me if I'm wrong, please? It says unity in diversity. Was that what you said?
Uniformity in diverse,
And
something like that. And
I want the exact. I want the exact statement. I need the exact statement.
Okay, for some reason, Professor Rahh, he went off the air.
I think he said unity with diversity, in diversity.
Yeah, he said uniformity.
And
because it don't matter what your religion is, you want to be unified in like, I guess, core beliefs. Well, not core beliefs, core actions.
Okay.
So
let me break that.
See, I was correlating the two, because similar to what you're saying, that, you know, the core values, the truth, the care, the hope, you know, and
yes.
Nope. Oh, here, this is Professor Rahh right here.
Yeah, I'd like him to make that statement again for me, because I'm going to break it down as far as the religion of life is concerned.
My internet went.
Okay, so you could stay on, Professor Rahh. We got you on speaker, and he wanted to hear. Go ahead, Brother Chawara.
He said something about unity in diversity and unity something uniformity.
Without uniformity.
Or without uniform. Okay, so now based upon the religion of life, which is what I find myself embedded in, and is embedded in me, because your religion, you have to be embedded in your religion, and your religion have to be embedded in you. Your religion and yourself cannot be separated, just like your culture and yourself cannot be separated. Now, diversity means what? Infinite forms, right? Infinite ways.
Professor Rahh, I'm gonna get you on through.
Okay.
I'm gonna put you through. Let me see if I can get you on. Okay, say that again, Chawara.
Diversity, right? Diversity. Hold on. Diversity.
Professor Rahh, repeat the whole statement. Is uniformity with what?
It's not unity without uniformity and with diversity. In other words, to dress up, you know, like what sometimes Muslims do, Hindus do, Catholics do, in uniforms and stuff, and make people do that.
Yes.
Except if you come in any kind of way. Second, with diversity, you know, there's different thoughts. Like Sharara said, you know, he don't try to impose his philosophy or his perspective of life on others. He just lives it, and so he can sit down with anybody. You know?
Yes, exactly.
And on the Tawiga, we sit down with you know, people, as long as they're principled, you know, and they ain't trying to kill you or cuss you out or fight. As long as there's you know, there's principles of cooperation, principles of communication, like no profanity, no fussing, no argument.
And when those principles are violated, that's the cutoff point. You understand? Because there's no sense in proceeding forward at that point. When life begins to fight life, which is not natural to life, you have to cut off. There's no sense in doing that. Thereby, if that is a practice that's put in place, thereby, that eradicates war. That eradicates war. But if you persist in arguing, if you persist in being disrespectful to one another, eventually, you're going to end up in war. You understand what I'm saying? So life has its cutoff points. And so when you said unity without uniformity and unity with diversity, within the walk of life, the religion of life per se, diversity, unity without diversity would be referring to every molecular, every atom, every micro and every macro element that we call life. That's our religion. We're unified with all of that. And I'm speaking that in a literal sense, not in a faith-based sense or like a churchical sense or nothing like that, because there are limits to the churches and there are limits to the dogmas. In life, there are no limits because we are embracing both the seen reality and the unseen reality, which both exist side by side, coexisting in harmony and perfect balance. So we align ourselves with that. Nothing disturbs us from that. We are grounded in that, and that is grounded in us. This is those who understand that original essence, that reality. So that means that the diverse unity, we're unified with the earth. We're unified with every drop of water, every drop of rain as it comes down. We're unified with every breath we take, but not just every breath we take, but every breath our brothers and sisters take. This is the depth of being accepting of the religion or the walk or the way of life or the practice of life. You have to practice life. It's not just you can't just live life. You have to practice living it, and you become better and better at it as you do it each day. Unity without uniformity, that is very important, because now you understand that there's no set shape, there's no set form. Because remember, we're speaking about God, the creator. We're talking about life. We're saying that God is our religion. We're saying life is our religion because God is life. You can't separate God from life or life from God. Without God, there's no life. And without life, there's no God. So we're not talking about religion in the sense of what we have been taught is religion. We're talking about religion in the sense that we have discovered, just like Christopher Columbus can say, oh, I discovered America, and a whole bunch of people already here with a whole culture of civilization that they literally buried. These people literally buried architectural structures.
Okay, but there are agnostic people that don't believe in organized religion, but they do believe there's a creator. Sometimes they refer to him as the cosmos, the creator, the Most High. They just don't go to organized churches and or organized religious centers. My point to you is that within the perspective of life, does it include birth and death, and what happens after death?
Very good question. Very, very good question. Just like the question and the answer, death also is an illusion. Just like the newborn baby that was just born 2 hours ago, that lives to be 68 years old. The baby, therefore, is the illusion. And if the 68-year-old man or woman lives to be 100 years old, then the 68-year-old man or woman was the illusion. Life is the realest thing that can happen, and everything that happens in life is immortal. We're experiencing immortality. But because we're not taught this, because the structures that have been put up is designed for pain, designed for confusion. Our ancestors were building a relationship with life that eventually would have conquered death. And we could leave here at any time we want. There's a yogi by the name of, and you can research this brother. His name is Yogananda. When he was in perfect health, and when he decided that he was going to now die, he chose his day. He said, I'm going to die tonight. I think I'm going to leave here now. I've done my work. I've traveled throughout the world, and I've shown the world the truth about what this thing is called life is. And it's like he rented the Madison Square Garden. This was an international, globally known, worldwide guru. He rented, like, let's say, Madison Square Garden. I don't know exactly what the venue was that he actually did it in, but it's Madison Square Garden, let's say. And after he did his little lecture for the evening, he told the people, well, I'll be leaving you now and I won't be coming back. He lay down and he left and never came back. You understand what I'm saying? So there are things really. What I've discovered also within the religion of life is this, and this is for Black people, because I can't talk for the other races of people. You understand what I'm saying? But the other races of people can benefit from this information if they choose to embrace it. But I can't. It wasn't meant for them. Specifically, it was meant for my people, the Black man, the Negroid, whatever other term they want to put on us, an Afro-American or, whatever, Caribbean, we have the identity. What I discovered is this. We have been taught that ancestors of ancestors, right? Now, what we do know in the general sense of an ancestor is that an ancestor is like those that came before you, your bloodline per se, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what my walk has told me, has shown me that the ancestors is way beyond that, and that's the lowest form of your ancestor right there.
Yeah, but that's what they say. Ancestor is anyone who has passed.
Yeah, but it goes way beyond that too. Yeah. It goes to life, because remember, our religion is life, so it goes beyond those who have passed or those who is to come and all of that. It actually goes to the core essence of life itself. Our first ancestor, and I'm going to just use the biblical sense to try make an attempt to express what life has taught me in terms of what an ancestor is. Mm-hmm. The darkness, formless and shapeless. That's our first ancestor. Mm-hmm. The second ancestor would be what we call the consciousness that hovered over the face of the deep and so forth. Mm-hmm. The third ancestor would be the light that was created by that consciousness, said, let there be light. We can call on the darkness. They have taught us in today's religion to fear the darkness. But why should we fear the darkness when out of the darkness came the light, and the light was born? The darkness gave birth to the light. The darkness stirred curiosity in the consciousness to want to see what is in the darkness. So the consciousness created the light so it could see inside of the darkness, so it could create the trees and the birds and the bees and the sun and the moon and all this stuff. So our ancestors would be all those things that I've just mentioned, and everything that was spoken out of the mouth of this creator, all the way up until the time when it said, come, let us make man. So, but we are not taught that. We are just taught that our ancestors is these flesh beings. We're not taught that the trees that we see outside and pass every day, the ocean and the rivers and the lakes and the streams and the sun and every breeze that blow and every wind that blow, every star, every seen thing and every unseen thing, every bird that fly, every insect that crawl, and every beast that is up on the field. These are our ancestors. Why? Because they came before us. Now, the trick is, how do we reconnect with our ancestors? And this is what the Caucasians and other people don't want the Black man to reunite with his ancestors, because they know that their Air Force, Navy, and their Marines and whatever else they got cooking under their sleeve cannot even begin to compare to what our ancestors can do. So they have to keep us separated from our true religion, which is the reverencing of life itself, the respecting and the honoring of life. Because when we do that, we respect and honor each other as a people. And when we do that, respect and honoring each other as a people, we then gain the respect of every other creature, every other living thing, every other thing that's on this planet that has life that was created. Because remember, we were given dominion over all things that were created that have life, period.
So life gave us that power?
Yes. Life gave us that power. And I can tell you this, if you look at a white man, I mean a real white man, I'm not talking about the one that's like, when I say white, I'm talking about Caucasian, okay? When you look at a Caucasian man, I mean a real one, he's pale, he's absolutely freaking pale, or he's pink, right? He's not like us. It doesn't mean he doesn't have melanin. He has melanin, but its percentage is so low that you can't see it. Go to any patch of earth and take the green vegetation of, go to the pure earth and put his hand up against it. He does not look like it. He don't come from that. Put yours there and you will blend right in.
Okay.
Somebody could walk past you and not even know you there because you and the earth look the exact same. Okay? Now you put that Caucasian hand at the beach, like at a white sandy beach, and you know he kind of more or less will be there with that. But I've never seen fertile earth that was pale, you know, and pink and gave life. Trees grew and blossomed and bloomed beautifully. And you know, I've never seen it. I'm not saying it don't exist. I'm just saying I've never seen it. You know, these are confirmations within my path and my tradition that proves to me who I am. I am of the earth. I came from the earth, and the earth is a part of me. But I've lost contact. How do I invoke? How do I summon the aid of the earth to my rescue? That's what we used to do. We could summon earth to protect us. We could summon earth. We could summon the things on the earth. We could call life to rescue us. How do you think we survived the so-called Middle Passage? When you think about it, every horror movie that I've ever seen is pale compared to what they did to us. It's pale, bro. That's not horror, what they're showing us. That's fiction. But their fiction was our nonfiction. And it's a part of our history. You see, so this is why religion is our life. And that's why our ancestors go way beyond flesh and blood. We can call the rivers, we can call the birds, we can call every flying thing, we can call every creeping thing, and we can open up the earth if we want to. We can open up a volcano, we can bring tsunamis, we can do all of that. But we have to be unified and be one with life. And in order for us to do that, we have to be unified and become one with ourselves, because we are the earth. And when we unite the earth, we realize that and acknowledge that. But we cannot do this and be wishy-washy with it. You know, these are the things that we don't discuss. We don't discuss our true power. Marcus Garvey said, I have traveled to a lot of places in the world, and I have yet to see where's the black man's army, navy, and marines. Where's the black man's nation, you know? He couldn't find it. He couldn't find it.
A true Christian.
Excuse me?
Marcus Garvey was a true Christian.
Yes. Like Malcolm X, like Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
And Jesus Christ is the truest of Christians. Or, you know, you know, there's debate, Yeshua, Jesus, you know, there's all of that, you know what I mean? But he's described, you know, in other words, Christ was a black man. period. Black people are the true Christ, and they've proven it. I know we are all familiar with the young white or Caucasian man that went into this church in the Carolinas and went to their Bible study, and after a while he claimed he going to Bible study, but he was going down there to shoot everybody up in the joint. And he shot at people and shot, a lot of people died, but some survived. And I think it's within a month or maybe a little over a month, the Black folks went on national TV and forgave the young Caucasian man.
Yeah.
Now, who does that? Only Christ could do that. Only Christ can do that.
Yeah.
Only Christ can do that.
The victim can't forgive him, so you can't. The people he killed didn't forgive him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the people that lived are the people that died. See, life don't separate us. We are the dead and we are the living. See, this is why the concepts that they have fed us does not work over here. Because I am the dead. I am Malcolm X. I am Martin Luther King. I am Marcus Garvey. I am Patrice Lumumba. I am Shaka Zulu. You know what I'm saying? This is it. Your ancestors are you. Their chromosomes is in you. You would not be here if they did not give up themselves for you to be here. That's why 23 chromosomes of your mother and 23 chromosomes of your father had to be given up by them in order for you to be here in the physical form. So you are them and they are you. I and the Father is one, is what Christ taught them. It's a cipher though. It's a cipher. If you don't have the insight to know this and see this, you get caught up in the religion of it and you miss the whole, you miss the whole thing because, we're looking at something that's gone, but it's really not gone because you're here, so it can't be gone.
So Brother Chihuahua, a couple of things. When they say that you have to get to the Father, you have to go through Christ to get to the Father.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a false statement?
Okay, I'm gonna tell it to you like this. You have an original language, right? The Bible says that it was King James Version, that it was translated from the original tongues, correct? Okay. So now we have a translation. Follow me now, don't lose me, because I'm coming right back to your question, right? But I have to do this in order for you to understand the context which I'm going to say. So the translation is when you translate from one language to another language, by rule of law, when you translate from an original tongue, something will be missing because it is not possible to transfer the entire essence of the original into a translated version. Now, there's another concept that goes along with translation, and this concept is called transpolation. The transpolation is when, while they're doing the translation, they are purposely altering things purposely for a particular reason which they know, right? So the thing is, your question was again, when they say no one gets to the Father, right? Is that what the question? But through, help me out.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ. What they're telling you is that you and the Father is one, is reality, is true, is life. That's what they're telling you. It's not that Jesus Christ, you should be saved by the blood of Jesus Christ, by the blood of Christ, you should be saved, Christ don't really have blood. Christ is not a blood thing. You see, Christ is immortal. Blood is mortal. See, Christ is that which is in the mortal, that is immortal. but the mortal is still mortal, even though he has immortality in him. So no one gets to the Father but through Christ. Christ is that immortal part of every man, which in the Kemet they call it Amun, which is the highest mind consciousness of man. That's Christ. So no one reaches the Father, which is the God, the creator, the omnipresent, omnipotent, omnipotent one. No one can get to that one but through your highest mind consciousness. See, which is Christ. It's not about the body and the blood. Now, when it comes to the blood, when they talk about the blood part, the way that comes in is this: you shall be made whole again through the blood of Christ, right? Now that means that if you return to the purity of yourself, meaning you cleanse your blood, you stop eating that nonsense that they convince you to eat, you stop taking their sorceries, which is the pharmaceutical prescriptions, you purge your blood, your body of the toxins and of the poisons that you've been fed, and you return to the natural diet that the Most High and your ancestors lived on. Like I said before, you have the soursop. The soursop is 10,000 times stronger than chemotherapy. So that means if you were eating soursop as a part of your natural diet, cancer would not live amongst you. You get my drift? If you weren't drinking alcohol and all these, every day, and you high on this beer and you just drinking, you're an alcoholic, you would not have brain damage, cirrhosis of the liver. In other words, if your blood was not dirty, if our blood was not dirty and our blood was clean, meaning it was of the consistency of Christ, Christ is the spirit, it is clean as the spirit, then your physical body would have no choice but to follow suit. This is some of the basis behind Dr. Sebi and Rashaki and other people that are out here telling our people the truth and trying to give our people the guidance as to how their dietary, how they should be, and so on and so forth. I'm just here. My work has to do with works of others. So certain things I don't really go into on forums, but when we begin to get organized enough to where we can have forums where we can meet face to face and sit down with people that have abilities and capability to make things happen, make certain things go down, then I can share much more. But on these platforms and these things, there's a certain distance that I'm going to, in certain revelations, you know what I mean?
Got you.
That because we are who we are, we'll never be able to change that, and they'll never be able to accept who we are, and we can't be nothing more than who we are.
This is the other thing, Brother Chihuahua.
Yes,
I've told, because this is pure observation from me observing and taking things in. I usually tell some of my classes that we are metamorphosis beings. So we are always taking on each other just through nature. I'm taking on you taking on me, and it's like an exchange. And from what you were saying, that all of it is one. And I'm taking it as if we all are, we metamorphose into one another because of the natural presence of everything. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Because of life. Remember I told you, like, the baby that's born 2 hours ago is the illusion. That's because we are constantly metamorphosizing. You understand? Let's go to the mindset. For every man that is born, for every true man that is born, there is a woman born for him. His job is to locate her. Her job is to locate him. So we have to have a cultural structure that makes that easier to do. We don't need to go to Las Vegas and throw craps. You know what I'm saying? My son don't need to be gambling and go through 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 women before we find the one that it was made for him. My daughter don't need to do that neither. So there has to be a cultural system set up to achieve that. And that system is in the religion of life or the walk of life. That system, I know what that system is. You understand what I'm saying? That system is already there. That system is set. It comes off of the family structure. That system, it comes off of the family structure. This is why they have to separate the family. That's why they created the nuclear family, so they could destroy the compound family. This is why they further went on after they created the nuclear family. They turned around and created the latchkey children. They started the feminist movement to break up the family structure. You understand what I'm saying? Because this structure is embedded in, like how I say, but lack of a better word, okay, I'm gonna use the proper word, the way of life, which is misnomered as the religion of life. Life already has everything structured.
Yeah, natural structure.
Yeah, so let's say, for instance, what does the mother and the father do?
Procreate.
The mother and the father, go ahead.
Procreate.
Yes, but when they procreate and what that which they have procreated comes to them, what is their responsibility?
Go ahead.
To protect, to teach, and to love that being that they created. They provide shelter, they provide food, they provide clothing, and they protect them, not their body. Their body comes with the protection, but it's really their brains that they're protecting. They won't allow certain things to enter into that child's brain. So that's why we have to have a cultural system that is dedicated towards the protection of our children.
And that's and Professor Rahh, you talk about that all the time, correct?
Yeah.
Professor Rahh mentions that those meetings with the family, you don't allow your children to go to certain places. You teach them.
Mm-hmm. You got to be the exclusive teacher.
Yeah.
Well, the primary education institution is the home. You know, because sometimes the older brother and older sister also sharing, passing on that education to the young one by an example of what the parents taught them before the other young ones came. And so that's the primary education unit. All other things are, culturally manifested as far as learning.
Yes, because it takes a village to raise a child. So the primary is the home, because that's where the child comes to. Every child is born in a home, not a hospital, born to a mother and a father, not a doctor. And so we have to take that back in. We have to bring that back into our cultural existence. And so once that comes back into our cultural existence, and you provide for the child as a mother and a father, not as a parent. See, we have to destroy words. We don't do parenting. See, that's some other thing. We do mothering and we do fathering. In life, there's a mother and a father. A mother and a father will never violate their child. Parents may do that. A pedophile is a parent. A pedophile could never be a mother or a father, because those things do not exist within the institution of mothering and fathering. You see, these are different words. When you start using certain words, that's when the spell is casted on you. You've thrown the words that has vibrational function for words that has vibrational dysfunction. And you see, so this is what we have to correct. So, to get the crap game out of matchmaking, what we call Black relationship, what we're going to have to do is create and bring back the system that is infallible, which is life, the system of life. So now, if mother and father provided everything for me, I'm a young man, right? And or a young woman. If mother and father provided everything for me. And now I have received my autonomy. What is the rule of law? The rule of law, before I can even say I'm a man or a woman, I have to be able to do everything that mother and father did for me without help from anybody, on my own powers. Because mother and father had given me the teaching that would enable me to do that. They have instructed me, they have nurtured me, they have strengthened me, and they have shown me examples after example. So if my father was a carpenter and I'm his son, then I would be a carpenter. That's number one. That's how my father made his living. He was very successful with it. He was able to buy food and provide a home for us and everything. So quite naturally, I'm gonna be a carpenter. If my mother was a seamstress, then and as a daughter, I would become a seamstress. If my mother was a midwife, then I would become a midwife, and so on and so forth. You understand what I'm saying? Those are it's inside of the life, and it's inside of the culture, and it's inside of the primary position, which is the family, as Brother Amun-Ra just mentioned. So now you're a man when you can do that. Not because you got pubic hair, or you got hair under your arm, or now that you got a beard. Being a man or being a woman don't mean now you done got somebody pregnant, or you done got pregnant, so now you're a woman. No, that's nonsense. That's violation of the process. That's like coming from the back of the line to the front of the line and acting like it's your turn to be served. Mm-hmm. That's a violation. Yeah. You see, so when you're able to do that, then you're what? You're autonomous, meaning you are now here taking care of yourself. You do not have a spouse. You do not have a partner. There's no need for that. But what brings a partner on is when you begin to feel like you need company. You're lonely. You begin to experience loneliness, because in the family, you didn't experience loneliness. That's when you begin to say you would like a spouse. That's when you look into the society, the culture in which you
Brother Tawara,
fully yoked according to Christianity, and so on and so forth.
You went
and
out.
That's how you do it. Mm-hmm.
It was out for about 5 seconds.
Who, myself?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, you didn't miss much then if it's just for 5 seconds.
Yeah. Now, Professor Rahh and Brother Tawara, we done been on a good hour and 30 minutes. And
but you know what, Rashaki?
Yes.
You got your information?
Oh yeah, I got it.
Okay, well, I'm gonna give him a call because we gotta bring him back.
So are we gonna do a part 3, or we gonna come with something different?
Well, it depends on if Jabal's in town, because he's supposed to come back on maybe next Tuesday. But if he's not there, we can continue. Because I want Hembrick to be here, and I want other, the Christians to be here.
Yeah, I got to recruit some of them.
Yeah, well, we'll get them. But Sharab, Rashaki's going to close us out and announce what's going on Wednesday. I mean, next Wednesday.
Well, this Wednesday. Tomorrow. Tomorrow.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So we have Andre Von Rose coming on tomorrow as a guest, and the topic is the mindset of a real estate investor. So that should be a good one. He's going to tell us about what he does and all of that. I have to talk to him tomorrow before the show, but he'll be on tomorrow. And
okay.
Yeah, this information is very interesting, Brother Tawara, and I can identify with most of what you're talking about, because I have similar experiences. So
I want Chirara to just make a closing statement.
Okay.
And then we can close on out.
Okay, Brother Tawara.
Yes, it's been an honor and a great pleasure to be here to share some of the insights that I've discovered from being alive and having a intimate relationship with life itself. I've discovered that it is a proactive um, life, and I'm looking forward to, bringing some more things to the forefront, and maybe we can even talk about some solutions to some problems that we may be facing. And I would address that from the basic level. So, to let everyone know that maybe what what angle I may be coming from on the next unity, when we meet up again. Um, I like to focus sometimes on the solutions, clarifying and clearing up some misconceptions, empowering and healing energy. We need to begin to look at that, and make some changes, So I'm looking forward to being here again. And I enjoyed myself this evening.
All right. I'm gonna give you a call, and we're gonna talk about those solutions.
Okay.
Positive.
All right. So we taking our pause. Each one teach one in Conscious Corner.